I'm John Meacham. Welcome to Fate of Fact, Season 1. This series is about how and why fact became a casualty of war in the United States. Please listen and follow Fate of Fact, a presentation of Shining City Audio, a John Meacham and C13 original studio. Available now for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back, Sports Radio 94 WIP. Joe Giglio with you. Kyle Quinn in for Tucker behind the glass. You guys with us, 215-592-9494. We'll get back to all of the Eagles talk with the schedule and the win-loss game and the latest on the Deshaun Watson rumor that won't go away. That's coming up. But right now, we're going to talk some Phillies here after a something that hasn't happened around here since 2019. September 2019 was the last time the Phillies won a road playoff series. That's how long it's been, and it happened this way. They did lose today, but I'd say a pretty good series down in Washington. Jack Fritz joins us and talks with Phillies here. Jack, they did it. They won a road series.
Yeah, you keep saying road playoff series. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. It was just a road series that a normal baseball team should be able to win. So I'm so proud of the Phillies for being a normal baseball team. And Joe, sorry if I sound a little out of breath. Just had to walk up 2 flights of stairs. This house is getting to me.
2 flights of stairs are out of breath. You sit down before we have a spill here during this next 10 minutes. All right, so they win a road series, not a playoff series. Now we're not there yet. You know what was impressive, Jack? Last night they won and they came back and they won in extra innings, but they came back in the ninth. They hadn't done that. I saw Jason Stark had this last night. The Phillies hadn't won a game in which they were trailing heading into the ninth inning since the Bryce Harper walk-off against the Cubs that same summer. Like, they did something this week twice. They haven't done it in a long time. They showed some resiliency last night.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that it reminded me so much of Saturday night in Atlanta, except that they didn't blow it. And that's 2 times in a week that they've shown an extra level of fight on the road. And I think that's really important for this team because it's something that they haven't shown in years past. And, you know, them being able to kind of come together and because you talked about this last week, and we both agreed, this team is a bunch of, parts from other teams that were grown up from other teams that are coming together and they're trying to win. And now is really their first full year with all these guys here where they're trying to do it. And a game like Saturday in Atlanta, even though they lost, they're still up by 3 in the 12th. I think that's a good growth. And then last night they sealed the deal. So I think it's a major growing part for this team. And, I expect them to go down to Dunedin and compete with this Blue Jays team.
Jack, one of the issues with this team early in the season was there was just way too many spots in the lineup where they were getting no production. And that's changed a little bit here. What are you seeing? What do you make of Odubel Herrera right now? I mean, it was pretty clear they were going to give him a shot at some point. They did. His first, I'd say, 4 or 5 games, he looked like a guy that had not been in the big leagues for 2 years. His timing was all off. But since then, he's hit. And he's taken one of those spots in the lineup that was just an instant out. And now, he's a real player again. What are you seeing? What do you think of Odubel right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not rooting for him. It was weird, even when he hit the home run last night. And usually in that scenario, I would be like, oh, fired up and stuff. But I was like, oh, great. But, I mean, the eyes tell you what the eyes tell you. And he's clearly their best center fielder. He's getting more comfortable. He's hitting the ball really hard. I mean, this is kind of what we saw when he was an all-star, where it was really solid contact. It wasn't always driving the ball to the ballpark. Obviously, he did that last night, and it was great. But it's just spraying the ball all over the field, but hitting the ball hard. So he looks legitimately great. And, if center field feels like that's kind of being righted, left field, McCutchen's batting, I think, .314 in the last 15 days. So that's good. Bryce is back and looked okay. It looked terrible today, but and now it comes down to the actually really important parts of the lineup. You need to get Rhys Hoskins going. You need to get Alec Bohm going. And when Didi comes back, I'm very worried about Didi, but you need to get him going too because he was not hitting well even before the elbow discomfort.
Jack, let's talk about those guys you mentioned that aren't going because they do need to get them going behind Bryce and JT, and hopefully he'll be back in there soon. But you mentioned Rhys Hoskins. So the OPS is down to 750 now. It feels like Rhys has had 2 little spurts this season where he's been productive. The first, 6 games or so, then he had another one with a bunch of home runs. And other than that, all he's done is strike out. He doesn't really walk anymore. And I always supported him high in the order because, he would hit home runs or he'd walk. He's not walking anymore. Where would you hit him in the lineup? Like, I feel like Girardi, once he moved him out of 2, there's no right spot for him. Like, I could see him at 5. I could see him at 6. Today he was 4. I don't know where to put Rhys right now.
He's a 7-hole hitter. I mean, he's like, what does he do well? I mean, a 7-hole hitter occasionally hits the ball out of the ballpark, but doesn't do much else. And right now, Rhys Hoskins doesn't do much else besides the occasional home run. It's weird, though. Like, he's been clutch. I mean, he had a clutch hit last night. He had the almost home run against the Mets. Had a double last Thursday to give them an insurance run or put them ahead. So he's been clutch, but like, he's a guy like Rhys Hoskins should be a 250, 360 to 380 OBP guy, 500 plus slugging, and at least 30 homers. And like, the production we're getting right now, like 25 homers and a 220 average and a 280 OBP, like, that's like a 7-hole hitter. You can't bat him higher until he starts doing the things that we knew that Rhys Hoskins could do, which was see a ton of pitches, walk, and hit the ball out of the ballpark. You can't bat him higher than where he is. So I thought Girardi was kind of sending a message by putting him down in the lineup, and I thought it was the correct message, and he needs to hit his way out of it.
All right, Alec Boehm. Obviously they're going to let him hit his way out of whatever he's in because he's part of the future of this team and a significant part. But I just, when I watch him, I'm just worried about his psyche more than anything. He's still hitting the ball hard. I think he makes pretty good swing decisions. Like, he's swinging at the ball 5 feet over his head. He hits the ball on the ground too much. That might take a few years for him to figure out how to lift the ball the right way. But I wonder about his frustration. He just looks, both in the field, but certainly at the plate, like he's pressing right now.
Yeah, I mean, you saw today after the first at-bat, struck out again. And he's one of those guys that he's kind of a throwback, like hates striking out, and it definitely affects him. And he struck out today, and he threw the helmet and threw his bat. And, and the thing that sucks with that is that the more struggles that he has, the more he's going to press, the more he's going to chase, the more he's just going to not feel comfortable at the dish. And it's one of those things that could really hurt a young player. And if I was Girardi, I would play Brad Miller at third against righties and play Boehm against left until Boehm could kind of show that he's back and he can get things going and get confident again. I mean, he mentioned after last Thursday, he said, I need to grow up and all this stuff. And it feels like that. And Girardi mentioned something, I think Friday, about how Boehm needs to grow up. And it feels like he's kind of going through that right now. So I think they're frustrated. I think he's frustrated. And, because you look at the overall numbers and they're not great, but he is in like the 92nd percentile in hard hit percentage. So he's doing things right. They're just going right at people. But when you're struggling, it just feels like you can't hit it past anyone. And they're in a dangerous spot with him. But I think to save him this year, they got to sit him down for a couple games and give him a breather. And I mean, you saw what happened when he did that with McCutchen. McCutchen's been great since Joe sat in for 2 games, and they need to commit to that with Alex Boehm.
All right, we're talking to Jack Fritz here, High Hopes Podcast, and of course, part of the Marks and Reese Show on WIP here in the afternoons. So, Jack, obviously behind Bryce Harper and Real Muto, there's not enough because the guys they were counting on, Reese has been weird and up and down, and Boehm is stunk this year for the most part. They could use more, or they could use one of those guys or both of them to get hot. What do you make of the Chris Bryant early rumors? I mean, they were connected to him over the weekend. It was a MLB.com list of teams that Chris Bryant could go to. Then I saw Matt Breen wrote about it this week. Dave Dombrowski's aggressive, and if the Phillies are near first place, he's going to add. I think everyone's going to assume he's going to add pitching. What do you think about a guy like Chris Bryant having a bounce back year and a free agent to be? I don't think it would cost a ton because he only has a few months left on his contract.
Yeah, but I just think it would be dumb. Like, are they really a Chris Bryant away from being a World Series contender? Like,
Well, no, they're not.
They're not. So, like, are we really going to go after Chris Bryant and like hope that he can play center field and or third base or whatnot? Like, obviously Chris Bryant's a great player, and it is funny how all off seasons like, well, Chris Bryant's overrated, Chris Bryant, yada yada yada, and now it's like, oh no, Chris Bryant's still a great player. So it's good to see that Chris Bryant's having a good bounce back year. But no, I don't see the point in trading for Chris Bryant. It would be fun. It would make the offense better, but it's one of those things that feels like a team would get to put them over the top, and this team is not that away. So it just feels like, and I also, I don't want them to give up prospects at the deadline for a rental. The thing that I have really come back to is, I hope they make the playoffs this year. That'd be great, but they need to figure out how to build from within. And because I just think that's how you win. I think that's how you win big. I think it's how you win long term. And I don't want to give away prospects for a rental for a team that's not good enough. And I want to build this team from the ground up. I know it took a while given the Klensack thing and how he screwed the rebuild up, but you have to win that way. You have to win with young players coming up and developing a winning culture. And trading that away for a Chris Bryant just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, well, if they're going to do that, they're going to need some of the guys they already have here to pan out. So I noticed a couple days ago, Spencer Howard was throwing on the same night as Chase Anderson. They're kind of lined up on the same night, and now Spencer Howard's a starter again, and he pitched 3 innings. I don't think they're going to waste a lot of his innings at AAA. This doesn't make sense, right? If he only has 100 innings, the more he's throwing at AAA means he can't throw those here. I think he's going to be back here soon at some point. What do you think about what's the best way? Like, how would you deploy Spencer Howard? Like, would you just make him a starter and pitch him 3 or 4 innings? Would you piggyback him with someone like? How do you think they should do this? Because I think he's going to come back up soon.
Yeah, I would let him start, and whether it's 3 innings, 4 innings, like that's more important than having him piggyback Chase Anderson. And Girardi pretty much said that when. Remember the Trevor Story game where David Hale came in instead of Spencer Howard? He didn't trust Spencer Howard to come into a not clean inning. So I would rather just start him and let him go and build innings that way. And then, if Chase Anderson is upset about not starting, well, listen, buddy, they're paying you $4 million and you're not that good. So you can come in behind Spencer Howard if they ask you to. So I would start him. I would see how it goes. Let him kind of control his outing rather than coming into someone else's outing, and just build up innings that way. I think that's better long term. I think it's better for the short term because I think he is better than Chase Anderson. But yeah, it's definitely weird. I don't love that their number one prospect is like, hey, hopefully you can get 3 good innings out of him. Like, sweet, he's 24. So I don't love where they're currently at with Spencer Howard and given the arm injury stuff. But it is funny how they spent $7 million on Chase Anderson and Matt Moore is currently in mop-up duty. So it's a good investment. I'm shocked Matt Moore is bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if 2 weeks Velasquez and Howard are better options than Moore and Anderson, and the $7 million just gets flushed away. All right, so we have a new High Hopes podcast that is out now. You and James Seltzer, is it up?
It's up. It was another fun one. Always surprised at how we go near an hour talking about a team that, today was not like some banner day for the team. Was today not the most getaway day in baseball history? A 2-hour and 48-minute game with double-digit strikeouts for both teams.
No one specializes in scoring early in a getaway game and then just putting their feet up the rest of the way like this Phillies team. Like, they scored that first inning and they didn't come close again.
No, they made Patrick Corbin, who is terrible now, not even break a sweat through 7 innings today. So just another bang-up job. The Phillies have already struck out double-digit times more this year than in 2011. So not great.
Yeah, I'm confident in saying that this team is not the 2011 team. You with me on that?
We'll see. Don't let them get hot.
All right, we'll see. All right, we'll be listening to the High Hopes podcast. Thank you, Jack. We'll talk soon.
Of course, Joe. Appreciate you.
I'm John Meacham. Welcome to Fate of Fact, Season 1. This series is about how and why fact became a casualty of war in the United States. Please listen and follow Fate of Fact, a presentation of Shining City Audio, a John Meacham and C13 original studio. Available now for free on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.